Hello everybody and welcome to another Doctor Who review. This time I'm reviewing a Big Finish audio. It's the Holy Terror. So the second sidestep audio, this time it's from the comic strips of Doctor Who magazine. Colin Baker stars as the Sixth Doctor and Robert Jezik plays Frobisher, the mesomorph penguin. So a basic plot for the story. The Doctor and Frobisher are in the TARDIS, and the TARDIS decides to have a bit of a mope. So the Doctor tells the TARDIS they can take them anywhere they want. So the TARDIS takes them to a culture that basically has an emperor who's a god, and when the god dies, anybody who believes in the emperor is classed as a heretic, and the successor then becomes a god. Within this is Eugene Tacitus, the scribe, the man who writes the stories, and the Doctor figures he's a little bit more than he seems, as the Bibles and the scriptures that are written are exactly the length of each of the emperors. There's also the situation of the fact that all the writings in the books are from the same handwriting. Now it's explained this could be down to hereditary, and the way people write is the same all the way through, but the Doctor starts to get suspicious that it's kind of a samey, like a kind of computer program, because everybody in there has their own role, is inherited by their children, and the role stays the same. They do the same thing. For example, the Emperor God would have a half-brother who's illegitimate. That illegitimate brother would try and overthrow the rightful Emperor. The Emperor himself feels like he's not right for the part, and doesn't feel like he could be Emperor, but actually turns out to be a tyrant by the end of it. The mother gets killed when the Emperor dies, supposedly, and the new Empress is usually one who's very beautiful, but not one who's very smart. All these little links and that makes the Doctor think there's something not quite right. Frobisher sees it as an injustice. The fact that the new Emperor, Pepin VII, feels like he can't be an Emperor, basically makes him think that the whole idea is baloney, and he shouldn't be keeping to rituals and ideas, and should be making his own path. Pepin isn't sure whether he could be a good Emperor, and then makes Frobisher Emperor, which causes a bit of a mix-up. Meanwhile, Pepin's half-brother, Childeric, is plotting against his brother to take the throne and become Emperor. This time, Childeric has managed to conceive a child of his own, who's been kept in a dark dungeon in the catacombs of the castle for 5 years, not talking to anybody at all. The plans are sped up when Frobisher becomes Emperor, and the child comes out, who happens to be a godlike creature who actually ends up killing all the people by turning him into some goo most of the time, or putting him into nothingness. This creature then gets out, is able to transcend the normal laws of physics, and goes around the castle killing all the other characters, apart from one, Eugene. The Doctor realises that Eugene is the father that the child is looking for, and actually happens to be the prisoner of this whole world. The creature is basically a robotic program that keeps Eugene continuously in this loop of the child coming every so often and him killing that child. This comes from the fact that he killed his own child in real life, and off the back of that, Eugene decides this time round to break the cycle and gets the child to kill him. The Doctor and Frobisher leave in the TARDIS. So let's go through some of the main cast. We have the Doctor, played by Colin Baker. Old Sixie is starting to get his stride here, and this character seems to be a mix of the calmer Doctor that we're seeing develop through Evelyn, and also the more brash and harsh Doctor that we know from the TV series. It's played very well as always. Colin Baker never puts a foot wrong with these stories, and always seems to get the right tone for the story that he's part of. I love the relationship between him and Frobisher. It's obviously they've been together for a while, and they have a good light-hearted relationship and friendship between each other. It's quite interesting that the Doctor would have a mesomorph that usually is a penguin as his companion, and it's an interesting concept. It's a shame that Frobisher didn't come back again in the monthly adventures, because I think that would have been a great little companion to have again in the future. But yeah, no, overall, I think the Sixth Doctor works quite well in this story, and is an enjoyable listen, and Colin Baker certainly is turning out to be one of my favourites of the Doctors in the monthly adventures range. So yeah, he's certainly solidifying why he could have been such a great Doctor on television, especially with this story. We then have Frobisher, played by Robert Jezik. They made him American interesting choice, and seems to be one who's a bit conflicted, doesn't like the idea of Pepin having to follow the rules all the time, and tries to have a little rebellious streak where it gets him in trouble when he becomes the Emperor, which kind of causes things to muck up a little bit. It's played for laughs a little bit at the beginning, but by the end, the serious side and the caring side of Frobisher comes out, and it's really a nice little take, and I quite like the way Jesek actually puts that across. We've then got Childeric, played by Peter Guinness, the ugly half-brother who's scheming and plotting. The voice sounds very Peter Miles, but it isn't. It's a different actor altogether, of course. And it's an interesting way it's played, and I love the kind of sinister, kind of faux baddie, pantomime baddie that he comes across as. And, you know, these characters in this world are kind of two-dimensional apart from the Doctor, Frobisher, and Eugene, which I'll get to in a minute. And it's kind of like, nothing's going to stop me here. I'm going to become the Emperor, and this is the situation, how I'm going to work it. And it works okay. I quite like it. You then got Pepin, played by Stephen Atkinson. I love the fact that he's playing a kind of ineffectual warrior who feels he isn't worthy of it being Emperor and doesn't really take to his role that well. The fact that Frobisher comes in and becomes the thing that stirs everything up, and Pepin decides to use Frobisher as a way of getting away from being on the throne, it's an interesting setup, an interesting way of working, and I think it's quite cool. It works quite well. It is quite fun to listen to, that one. We then have the two main lead ladies. We have Berengaria, played by Roberta Taylor, the jaded Empress, the wife of Pepin VII's father, Pepin VI. And yeah, Roberta Taylor plays it really well. This kind of jaded feeling that she's got is really quite cool. I really like it. And then we got Helen Punt playing Livilla. Livilla's a selfish, pretty lady, supposed to be Pepin VII's wife. Doesn't quite like the way Pepin is acting and tries to work with Childeric to bring down Pepin. We then have Eugene Tacitus, played by Sam Kelly, the standout star of this story. Plays a kind of wisely old scribe who writes down everything in regards to the Emperor's life, and I love the way that's played on the story. I also like the fact that Eugene is the actual real-life prisoner. He's the one with the real life. He's the one who's been put in this prison, this technical prison with this program he's included in, and then the aim of the program, of course, is to kill the creature that pretends to be a god and kills everybody. And the way that Sam Kelly plays both, you can tell more or less straight away who the father is, but it's also a nice way it's been played, and it gives a good gravitas to the whole thing. So, yes, let's go down to the writing. This is the first script in the Big Finish Monthly Audio Adventures, written by Robert Shearman, who of course was the writer of Dalek in the new series of Doctor Who. So he has a high rating with me already with his scripting and his scripts. Shearman actually appears as a sculptor in the story. Just a quick little cameo. It's actually quite fun to hear. But yeah, Shearman does a good script here. It's quite entertaining. It starts off with a kind of comical bent just a little bit and gets darker as the time goes on. It's actually a nice little twist at the end of it, and I actually quite enjoy this story for that. I think it works quite well. The direction by Nicholas Pegg is okay. The story doesn't really need much direction, I don't think. I think it's written well enough and tight enough that Pegg's just really trying to get the best out of the performers, and he does that quite well. I think it works okay. And then you've got Russell Stone, who's doing the music for this one. Yeah, a couple of comic leitmotifs earlier in the story, and it gets a little bit darker as time goes on. It works well. I do like the score, and I think it's a nice little score to complement it. It doesn't overpower. It doesn't stand out. It just complements the story as it goes along, and that's the sort of music you want. Overall, I quite like this story. I think it's quite fun. I do like the whole premise of Frobisher, and it's a shame he doesn't get any more main adventures with the Doctor at any point, because I think he's a great little character. Don't worry, comic book characters come back to Doctor Who in another way. Well, we'll come back to Doctor Who in another way by the time this comes out. It will be in the future, but yeah, Beep the Meep is rumoured to come forward, and Beep does actually get their own story in Doctor Who or main range as well, so we could have Frobisher in the future as well. That could be a possibility. Ultimately though, I like this story. I think it's quite fun. It's not top tier. The scripting is okay. I think the way it's written is okay. It's not quite take your brain out, but it's not punchy in the gut brilliance like Apocalypse Element tends to be. And for that, I'm going to give it a rating of 3.5 TARDISes out of 5. Okay, let's see how that story stacks up with the rest of the Big Finish reviews I have done so far. The Holy Terror sits in with the vast majority of the Doctor Who Monthly Adventures, including The Signs of Time, Phantasmagoria, The Whispers of Terror, The Marrying Conspiracy, The Fires of Vulcan, and The Shadow of the Scourge. At the bottom is The Land of the Dead and Winter for the Adept with 3 TARDISes out of 5, And at the top is the Apocalypse element with 4.5 TARDISes out of 5. That's it from me. Thanks guys for listening and of course watching this Doctor Who review. Tell me what you think about the Holy Terror. Leave a comment down below. Do you like it? Leave a comment down below. Do you not like it? Leave a comment down below. And if you like this video, please don't forget to hit that like button and share it with the hashtag teamstructor. And also hit that subscribe button and the notifications bell so you know when a new video comes out. Drwho, new video every Sunday at 4 PM GMT. And I'm back on Sunday at 4 PM GMT with a live stream. Yes, first one since June. Hopefully you can join me for that. But until then guys, thank you very much for watching. And you know what? I'll see you later.